The old S14's been running great ever since we rebuilt the RB25 under the hood. But now that the holy smokes, this thing finally runs thing is kind of wearing off, it's time to get back under the hood and really get what I came for. What's that, you ask? That's RB sounds. The only reason you would ever deal with the RB engine is for the sound. And it's not like this thing sounds bad. In fact, it sounds really good. But all the sound is coming from the front of the car. It's all turbo noise and wastegate noise. See, ever since I've had this car, it's had a totally random kind of homemade exhaust on it. It's so boring you don't even notice it's there. And so today, we're gonna finally change that. How are we gonna do that, you might ask? Oh, sweet baby. But before we take this thing off, let's give it one last listen, see what it sounds like. Probably doesn't flow the best. It doesn't sound the worst, but it doesn't sound like a whole lot, especially from inside the car. All you hear is the front.
Oh, white smoke.
That's not white smoke. You know, that's just fuel and goop. I ain't got no cats. All right, so it sounds fine, but I think it's gonna get a lot better and it's gonna look a lot cooler. That's all I want. Okay, but the first step is always first. You gotta take off the old stuff. Hello, baby, hello. All right, now we got this thing. Nah, she's still cold. All right, we only got 2 bolts holding the whole rear of the exhaust on and some exhaust hangers, so we'll take these off. We can get the rear section off. Then we'll take the downpipe off, and then I think we'll put the HKS on. Oh, I got an exhaust on me.
I'm surprised this isn't a lot louder.
Even with the exhaust we're putting on here that has essentially no muffling except for the rear can, it probably still won't be insanely loud. The turbo is such a muffler that you know, it damps the tone pretty well, but it will be louder. These rubber exhaust hangers can be a nightmare unless you have the right stuff. A little squirt of WD and a pair of exhaust hanger pliers make it a breeze. I think I can get this up. Yeah. Okay, so here's the downpipe. It's mostly 3 inches. It kind of necks down around this flex pipe. It's kind of been beat up to make some clearance. So we're gonna size this up to 3.5 inches and to make it flow a little bit better and look nicer. And the rest of the exhaust is also mostly 3 inches. And then we've got kinky bends here where it kind of necks everything down. We've got a resonator here and then a muffler at the back. On the HKS, you can see the bends are much more gradual, much more smooth, and this is 3 1/4 inner diameter tubing with just a canister muffler at the back. So very flow oriented and it should let some sound free too. That's how you know. And look at how cool it looks. Looks way cooler. Might as well take that silencer out now.
So what's this doohickey?
This little doohickey, this is a silencer. This is a way to quiet this type of exhaust down. It's basically just a kind of restrictor plate here that goes in the back. Definitely hurts flow a little bit and, you know, just makes things a little quieter. Sometimes you don't want to be so loud. But I'm just rather straight in the trash.
It's nice to have the option.
Or throw in the trash. We've also got this exterior piece, which then reveals the high power muffler HKS. I'm gonna scrape the out of this. Right here.
Flange?
Oh yeah. And probably on the canister every once in a while. Oh, it's gonna hurt. Oh, can't wait. All right, well that part was easy. It looks a lot cooler and that exhaust fits the car great. But now we need to connect the exhaust to the engine. All right, now before we go any further, let's talk about why we're even doing this and whether or not it's gonna be worth it. We know our engine's an air pump. You gotta flow air in and out of the engine quickly and efficiently. Now the intake side is flowing pretty well. But on the exhaust side, of course, we've got the turbo, which is restricting flow. So the less restriction we can have after the turbo, the quicker air can flow through the turbo. So the easiest way to get that pressure down after the turbo is to make your downpipe bigger. Now, I would love to make a 4 or 5 inch downpipe, but I don't have room for that. I have room for 3.5 inches, and that's it. So that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna sound good, and it's gonna perform better. And that makes it worth it. Psych, I'm not stupid, contrary to popular belief. I do have some metal in my eyes. Okay, now that we've got our V-band flange freed up from the old downpipe and cleaned up and flattened out, it's time to start welding. So I've got this is a 3 to 3.5 inch transition. So this is gonna go from our V-band flange up to the 3.5 inch size that our downpipe will be, all the way down to the exhaust. So we'll get this tacked onto here and then we're off to the races. It's pretty much just Legos. Stack it up, tack it on, and make it fit. Okay, now that we've got things started, let's take a look at our Legos. This is mostly just leftovers from the exhaust we made for the Goblin car. So I figured we might as well put it to use and make a downpipe out of it. It's all 3.5 inch stuff, which is what I wanted anyway, so it worked out great. We've got some random pieces, like a 180, a 90, and then we've got a handful of pre-cut pie cuts. And in addition to all the little Legos, we have one big long stick of 3.5 inch stainless steel tubing. So most of this will turn into a downpipe over the course of the next few hours. All we gotta do is kind of measure, cut, weld, you know the drill.
You want to remove the hood because it would get you a better shot and make it easier on your back?
I can make it easier on my back. I still gotta bend over just the same.
You don't gotta worry about your little noggin though, you know?
Oh, dude, my little noggin? I'm not worried about it.
There you going.
Yeah, hold it good, Papa. Papa?
Okay, done.
Okay, we're making some progress. Now, the trickiest thing about this is going to be getting between the headers and the steering shaft. So that's what we're going to be working on next. I think a pie cut and then maybe another one into a straight section. We'll get it. We're pretty well lined up here, so. We just got to keep going. All right, she's taking shape. We're turning the corner. We're getting past the, I guess the tough bit, getting past the header and steering shaft. And with this, we should be just past the steering shaft. And then we're pretty much there. And it's just like 2 more turns, kinda. You like my 3D printed pipe clamps?
That is pretty trick.
Pretty trick indeed. Now another consideration to kind of make along the way is making sure that this thing is like removable and installable. The bigger it gets, the harder that gets, so we'll see. This might ultimately become a 2-piece unit. Not sure yet. Let's see where the exhaust takes me. Now you can see we have a tiny bit of clearance at the header and a good almost 1/2 inch of clearance at the steering shaft, which I think might be as much, if not more, than we had before. So that's good. Now we just got to shoot down and kind of out and back. But this has been the tricky bit. From here, you like all that spit? Okay, we got the downpipe into a pretty good place, and I think it's time to weld this thing up before it gets any bigger or any more cumbersome. So I think that means it's time for a crash course in TIG welding. TIG welder is one of the coolest tools in the garage and one of the most versatile, or the most versatile things for gluing metal together, and it's gotten a lot cheaper. I bought this one in 2020 for $629, and that was a pretty good deal. That was pretty cheap at the time for how many features this machine has, but now in 2025, you can get TIG welders for less than $100. Now, of course, you lose some features the cheaper you go, but still, they've gotten a lot cheaper, which is really cool. But once you get the welder, that's not it. There's a lot of peripherals and consumables, so we'll go through those real quick. First, I upgraded the torch here. This machine came with a kind of junky one that had the trigger on the torch rather than a foot pedal. So I upgraded to this nice CK torch with a ferrite cup. There are different tungstens depending on what you're welding. And these are pretty good for every material so far. And of course, you've got a welding mask. You can spend, you know, 50 bucks on one of these or 500 bucks. And that's kind of the case with a lot of this stuff. You can do it pretty cheaply or you can do it very expensively. Then on the table, we've got just kind of a random litany of things for holding stuff while you weld it. And then you've got some more consumables, cups, tungstens, etc., etc. Welding rods, so you'll need filler rod for all the different materials that you'll weld. So I've got aluminum here, mild steel, and then we got stainless steel over by you, because that's what we're working with today. And then your main consumable is your gas. So this is 100% argon, which is pretty common for TIG welding. And this basically shields your weld from the environment. Oxygen creates oxidation, and when metals are super hot, like when you're welding, that oxidation happens rapidly. So the gas keeps that from happening, keeps your welds uncontaminated and strong and pretty. So you basically get this tank from your local gas place, and then you just go swap it out for a new one once it's empty. You'll have to buy the regulator, and I just got this. This is a dual head regulator. These used to be really expensive. I found this one for 90 bucks, so we'll see how it goes. But this is a pretty big upgrade for me. This lets me back purge, which we'll talk more about in a minute. All right, so the shielding gas protects the weld from oxidation, but when you're welding really thin metal like this exhaust tubing, well, the inside or the back side of the weld gets red hot as well and oxidizes just like the front side does. So to avoid that, you need to get shielding gas on the back side of the weld. So I bought these silicone plugs, poke some holes in them, put these little brass barbs in there, and I'll be able to run that to the second head on the regulator, fill the inside of this tube with argon, and protect the inside of the weld. You can see on this little piece of sheet metal, this pretty color stainless steel weld, that is done with gas, just like you normally would. That's what the backside looks like. All gray and coked up or sugared, that's oxidation. And not only does it not look very good, it's not as strong. And you know, if you have some weak interior welds on a big long tube that gets a bunch of vibration, that can crack. So we will be able to make the inside look like that by filling this with argon. And on that topic, as you fit up your tubing, the worse your fitment is, the more gas is just gonna escape as you try to weld this up. So what you can do is just put tape over your seams to try to kind of seal them up until you get close to that area, just to try to seal things up and conserve as much gas as possible. Okay, that's good enough. This is stainless steel, so this is going to be a DC operation here. So we've got the welder set on DC, telling it that I've got my remote here. And then one of the most important things, again, involves the shielding gas. So I can set pre and post flow on this TIG welder, which I think you can do with most TIG welders at this point. So I have a 1 second pre-flow, which means that it starts flowing gas for a second before it starts the arc. And then I think I have a 9 or 10 second post-flow set, so that it flows gas for 9 or 10 seconds after I stop welding. And that gives the weld and the tungsten time to cool down and not oxidize. So if you don't have enough post-flow, your tungsten and your weld won't have enough time to cool down. They'll both oxidize and contaminate, and everything will be bad. Now that said, you can still oxidize and contaminate even if you have enough post flow if you're putting too much heat into your weld. So you want to be kind of, you know, conservative with the heat that you're putting into whatever you're welding in general. I think that's all we need to know. I think now we're ready to touch some pedal. So our first joint right here is pretty close to our silicone cap, so we're gonna take it slow. Don't want to melt it. And if your filler rod lays around your gross garage like me, it's not a bad idea to give it a wipe. So as I mentioned, you want to kind of be conservative with how much heat you put into the part, not only for oxidation, but for warping as well. So with tubing like this, I'm going to pretty much do probably 1.5 to 2 inch sections at a time at most, and move around a little bit. So it's not like I'm going to be going, you know, super long. So, and the other thing too is that your hand positioning makes this either kind of easy or kind of difficult. So we'll kind of like, you know, get into a spot where I can get a good little pass and then reposition, get another pass, and do it, you know, 1.5, 2 inches at a time. Now I just have to do that for a lot more. But it's gonna be fun. Honestly, it is fun. It's a little tricky at first, but it's pretty fun. And stainless is especially fun because it's so pretty. Really satisfies the kid in you. Okay, see you in a couple hours. Another consideration to make if you're buying a welder for your house is what kind of power you have available to you in your garage or near your garage. And for me, I just have 110. So this is convertible. You can change this to run on standard 110, 120, or 220, 240. You generally want to weld directly to the wall. That'll happen. Slap the part right into my tungsten. Yeah, I tend to do that a lot. That's why I have a tungsten sharpener. Jimmy! Damn. Coming along. Coming along. We're close. I think, what do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4 more seams to weld up, and then this section is done. We'll get it back on the car and keep fitting.
All right, cool. Well, we've made a lot of progress, but the downpipe is still not connected to the rest of the exhaust. So I gotta get it back up in the air and keep working on that. And I think I'm gonna put it on some ramps. So let's fire it up. See what it sounds like with just the downpipe. What do you say?
I'd love that. Okay.
All right, the last piece of the puzzle has arrived. This little flexible section that will help us connect the exhaust to the downpipe. So let's get this in there, mark it up, weld it in, and then we're done with the fabrication. Then we just gotta wrap it. Okay. Now that we got this tacked up, we'll make sure it fits right, and then we'll finish welding it, then we're done welding. Had to get new gas this morning. I ran out last night. It's a lot of gas. the old noggin. I think we're in business. Let's burn it. Dab, move, dab, move, pulse, pedal. Okay, fabrication is officially complete, and I'm pretty happy with the result. My welding has come a long way. I think, you know, overall it's pretty good. I could get a little better in consistency, but I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. I don't think it's gonna come apart. And you can see inside, the welds look nice and smooth, not oxidized, thanks to our back purging. So I think this thing's plenty strong. Now, it's time to hide it. I'm gonna wrap it with some titanium heat wrap I have, and that'll help keep my underhood temps down and keep me from burning myself when I work on it. So we'll do that. And then I'm debating painting that piece black to match the HKS. I do have some black exhaust paint. Okay, everything is installed, so it's time to put the tip on, and then we're gonna fire it up. So one last thing to do before firing up for the first time is to clean everything real good. Just giving it a wipe down with acetone, just to clean off any fingerprints, any smudges, because once you get this thing warm, any of those marks on it will bake into the finish, and you'll have them forever. So last chance to clean it.
That is one way to do it.
I'm trying not to touch the outside. I wish it said high power HKS on the outside of this thing too, you know? Well, I guess it's time to hear how it sounds. Fingers crossed. Are you ready? Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, I think we're in business. All right, let's let this thing warm up and go stomp on it. It's beautiful. Yes, sir. You ain't gotta tell me twice. It sounds so good. Oh, I'm so happy. Finally. Oh my God. It's running, it's driving, it's thriving. It sounds amazing. The sun is setting over the Pacific Ocean. Dude, life's good. Life's good. It makes it all worth it. It makes all the RB stuff, all the troubles, all worth it because it sounds good. And that's why you do this stuff. All it took was buying an exhaust and making a downpipe out of some scraps. And I had fun doing it. I hope you guys had fun watching. Thank you for watching. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, like these sounds, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see me do next. Till then, I'll just be driving this car around with a smile on my face. Oh, baby!